At the end of the day, it's all about finishing tracks. And I know that can be difficult sometimes, but there are ways to make your life easier. So to finish off this series, let's create a full arrangement for a house track. We're finally going to finish up the track that you just heard in the preview. And in the prior video of this series, we kind of worked on coming up with different musical ideas to create some different building blocks, which we can then use to create an arrangement. And the building blocks that we came up with so far are this main idea. Nice. Then we kind of wanted to turn that into something more mellow to have some contrast. So we ditched the house piano and switched it for a Rhodes sound. We used the same bass sound, but kind of switch up the bass line a little bit. Let's have a quick listen to that. Also quite nice. And then to kind of have a nice part that can bridge between different parts, we removed the chords altogether and reduced the bass line down even more to just 2 notes basically, which gave us this part. Nice. And then kind of the point of highest energy that we could get to in this track would be the main idea with this screaming, yelling vocal on top, which some people hate and some people love. Let's have a quick listen to that. So yeah, those are the building blocks that we're working with so far. Feel free to check out the other videos if you haven't already to kind of figure out how to produce these. Also, many sounds I'm using in this production are available in my sample shop. So feel free to check out the link in the description. I'd appreciate it. But let's now jump in. So kind of want to bring these different parts together to create a track. And since we're kind of working on an old school track, I don't want to go too crazy and overproduce everything, make long risers and build-ups and things like that. In old school house, you often quickly switch between some ideas and then kind of recycle all the sounds you have in here to create some easy but nice transitions. Because if you think of back in the days, people had some machines and they kind of had to make most of them and couldn't record like 200 tracks because they had to record it onto tape and things like that. So many old school things, they're kind of minimalistic in their production approach, but it kind of creates a cool vibe. So let's go for that. And we have an arrangement over here. You can put this into many orders depending on what you're going to go for and how you want to create the track. So this is just one way I came up with it. And I really like contrast between mellow and then some surprising points. So I kind of started with this mellow Rhodes vibe at the beginning. Then the drums come in. And then the bass line. So that's cool, kind of starting with this mellow vibe. So the thinking I did here is we have this main point, right? The main idea with the piano. And I was kind of looking for a way to introduce that without having it from the get-go. And I didn't want to drag out the piano sound too long. For example, if we are starting on the main idea part and let's say we have our piano sound and something typical that people might do in EDM is kind of filter that out and kind of start like this. Make it brighter and brighter. Then maybe eventually take out some drums. Okay, I kind of messed up on the fly here, but the point I want to get at is if the piano is there for too long, it gets a bit boring, and this whole like filter automation thing is a bit more modern than what I wanted to do in here, and also like takes away the surprise effect the piano could have if you bring it in a bit more abruptly. So coming from this mellow vibe at the beginning, I didn't want to start the track too empty, so I started with chords and drums. The bass line comes in, drags out a bit, vocal sample, kind of this effect sound. Let's listen to the switch. So nice. To kind of keep it simple, just had this little cymbal thing crash coming in. A little bassline variation, because if it always ends on this high note that we have back here, ends on the E, which over time gets a bit annoying. So a bit variation in there is nice. I feel this is cool. Like it's an energetic switch where you have this mellow vibe in the beginning and all of a sudden the house piano comes in. That's cool. So then at some point, I kind of want to switch back to the mellow idea. Eventually this synth sound that we had comes in and to like vocal sounds, quite simple. And then we switch back to the mellow vibe. So here, for example, we already had this kind of stop and continue type of situation. So why not do like a little drum fill? We had like this 909 snare. Let's just put these in here and listen to that. Nice. We might have to do a bit of work on the synth sound because it's really repetitive, but it works okay. Nice. So here, just add some variation by using a different part of the vocal. So every time you get some new, more information coming in. And then here, I turned this down quite a bit, but we might want to turn this up and just add a little variation, recycling what we already have from our house piano. So. So kind of playing in the rhythm of the snare, which is a nice counter rhythm, not counter rhythm, but a different rhythm than what the main idea house piano is doing. And I kind of just duplicated the house piano track, but played the MIDI notes at a kind of lower velocity. So the sound is slightly different. And then I'm also using the house piano to kind of create this Segway sound effects for the breakdown. And this kind of goes into ascend, where I just have a very long echo coming from the Valhalla delay. If we turn this up even more, we have it here. Could even be longer like this. Nice. Okay, so what I did here, I did want to use the vocal scream, but if you just build up the track and then drop it on the drop, there's so many tracks doing that. So I thought, okay, a bit sketchy, but why not just do the scream before the drop and then have it kind of drop in together to have somewhat of a surprising moment that not everyone might expect. So let's listen to that again. Cool. So the timing and the movement of the vocal is a bit off. So in order to make it slightly tighter or have something to grab on for the listener, I needed this this lead in with the crash, because this way you're kind of getting back into the rhythm. And without it, it was okay, but it was difficult to like. Kind of weird, so. Cool, so here we're all the way in our main idea. We obviously have to switch things up a little bit over time, right? So, this is still all right. We're gonna go once again into the mellow vibe. Different drum fill. Switching from snare to clap. Different vocal samples. Going into our bridge. Back to mellow. Switching from clap to snare. Going into breakdown 2. New vocal sample coming in. You can see I have a little note here, blues solo. My blues playing isn't that great, so I'm not even gonna bother to try and molest you with that sound. I do know roughly the C blues scale, right? Which is why I pitched down my MIDI keyboard by 6 semitones. This way we're working on a, maybe I can show like in a MIDI clip. We're working in F sharp minor, right? If I pitch this down 6 semitones, 6. I land in C, and I know the notes of the blues scale, but the C blues scale, but I still have to work on the fingering and this kind of stuff. But that's something I might be working on and come up with a bunch of ideas and kind of fill in this blank spot over here with a blues solo, which is always nice in this type of house track. But let's go into the breakdown. New vocal sample. That's coming in. Going into the last main part. Here we could also do some more blues stuff, kind of raise the energy. For the first time, both the Rhodes and the house piano play together. Little switch up in the bass line. Mellow part again. Kind of change the frequency at which the vocal samples are coming in. Recycled house piano over the mellow part. To finish things off, or bridge. Bridge is maybe not the word, but I think you feel what I mean. And here's our outro. Introducing some drums. Yeah, this was kind of my arrangement approach for this track. I guess I hope you found some of this helpful to just get an idea of how you can then take these different parts and like work between them, or kind of transition between them. Because in a way, in these old school tracks, you can do many more things. There's a lot of space for more elements, and let me know in the comments what you think is missing here. But in a way, some house tracks are kind of simple, and they're not crazy overproduced, and they're kind of laid back in some ways, and they have these different parts and create different moments. And I think that's already happening in this arrangement. And yeah, how you want to put these guys into order, which part you want to have present longer or shorter, is completely up to you. But I think this is nice to show how how to apply this and to kind of take things a bit chill. If you want to finish your tracks, sometimes it's good to say, okay, to cross the finish line, just bring the finish line a bit closer, but check out how much do you need for it really to seem kind of finished. Yeah, if you want to make it easy, your life a bit easier to finish things, don't go too crazy and feel like all this stuff has to be in there. It depends on the sound you want to go for. And classic house and old school house, it's kind of giving in its way that the arrangements don't have to go too crazy. You can go in and fine tune, add some more variation here. The bass line could use some variation, but you can also leave it like that. Many tracks also do that. And it's kind of up to you. Yeah, I think the series was fun. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And as I mentioned before, feel free to check out my sample shop. The link is in the description. And I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Ciao.